And we're going to fire straight into the webinar. So, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for inviting me on, Chris.
You're very welcome. Well, really, really pleased to have you on. I know it's been a long time coming, but I don't think that there's any better time to talk about this subject than probably in December when we are starting to think about sort of people that are less fortunate than us and the kind of situations that they're in. And the property industry, I think there are a lot of people out there that want to support people because the industry does have a bad rap. But there are some amazing people doing some amazing stuff to try and lift people out of poverty and actually give them the homes that they deserve.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. I've since I've been doing this for the last few years or so, I've met some incredible people along the way. I was at an event. I was invited to speak with legendary. I'm not sure if you're old enough for this. Fatima Whitbread. Do you know Fatima?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah.
Jessica and my business partner Jessica and myself, we were invited to speak at her One Voice event, which was all about child poverty and so yeah. I've met some incredible people along the way.
Great stuff. So, Mark, what I'm going to do is there might be some people that know you quite well that attend your events quite regularly, and there might be some people that have never come across you before. So, what I'm going to do, because you don't tend to put the spotlight too much on yourself when you do host your events. I'm going to take it right back to the beginning of your story, and the beginning of your property journey. So if you could just tell me a little bit about how you first got into property, what it was that excited you about property, and yeah, the makings of Ming and where that all started.
Excited me about property? Nothing. I don't get excited. No, that's not true. I like what property brings. Yeah, going back, when I first started in property, if I go back a little bit further, if that's okay, Chris, I had an installation company. I was in the eco world for 13, 14 years, running my own business with insulation cavities, lofts, solar panels, and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I was, and then in 2015, the government decided to pull the plug on all the grants, and it basically took my business with it. I had a successful business, but it took it. So I didn't cover my bases, if you like. It was a mistake. It was my first time in business. I'd set my business up in 2003, ran it to 2015, and I didn't have a plan B. So I've learned a lot about business in that time. 2015, I'd come out, I'd got some capital. I'll be hands up. I had some capital. So I invested in myself. I got caught up in one of these property education courses. And I paid a lot of money for it, almost £20,000 to pay for this property education course. I'm not saying that it was a waste of time because it wasn't. It was probably my mindset that wasn't in the right space. I was still licking my wounds from my own business. So I went on this property education course. I got some capital and I went out and I bought some houses. That's where I started. Started very, very quickly as well. I was buying houses in 2015 and 2016. Um, so that's where the initial property started. And it was exciting. I'm going to be a landlord. I was going to generate my own income. Uh, and I was promised all the dreams on the training course, and that was going to be passive income. None of us landlords that are on this webinar, we've never got to work another day in our lives. What we do is we buy a few houses and we sit back and we watch the rent come in for the rest of our lives. It's as simple as that. Also, so we're all led to believe. So that's where that started. So if I start with Ming first, shall I start there because
Yeah,
that kind of follows on from there. So the birth of my baby Ming, as you alluded to yesterday with our ninth birthday, it started off as nothing at all. It was, and I would encourage anybody on here at all to start an event. Honestly, I really would because anyone, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It was really good. Um, I was licking my wounds. I was sitting down having a glass of wine on Boxing Day in 2016. I think it was something like that. Yeah, it was 2016, and and I just literally put out a post on social media saying, "Does anybody fancy meeting up? coffee, or go and have a beer or bite to eat, and let's do a little bit of networking. I'm not going to charge you, and this was the crux of it. I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to. There's no speakers involved or anything like that. We're just going to meet up. And a few people came back. I've been put in a few groups when I've been on this event. I was put in a few groups, and so I did. So I did, and we met at the it was the Holiday Inn at Junction 10 at Walsall. And so I went there, and I think there was about 10, 11 people turned up. So we had a bit of a natter. It all went quite well, and I thought, well, there might be a little bit of legs in this. So a few people said, "Yeah, well, let's do it again." So I organised it again. This was on an evening, so I ran it again, and the next time we had about 20 people turn up. I thought, well, there might be something in this. People are quite enjoying it. So that was the birth of it. That's where it started. I ran two events side by side. I was not a network host. I've never done it before. Um, and I ran two side by side. I'd run one in the daytime and I'd run one at the night time. Tested them both. In the daytime, I was getting about six people coming because people have got jobs. And the night time, I was getting 15, 20 people that were coming to the events. And they were running out every couple of weeks or something like that. So I did that, and we probably did that for about 12 months or so. And I know that in the early days, there's a lot of people that have gone on successfully to run events that met at MING. I mean, there's a couple of partners in property. The two guys there, they actually met at MING, sort of like 8 years ago, I think that was. And they set theirs up. But there's been a number of people who've done it. So, like I said earlier, I'd encourage other people to do it. Um, so we ran the events side by side, but I just got this feeling that it was better. The quality of the room in the day was much, much better than it was of a night time. So that's where it all started, and we've pushed on from there.
As you say, people who don't have jobs are the perfect people that come to your event.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody is fully engaged. It's not all been plain sailing. It's not all been plain sailing. For the first 5 or 6 years years or so, it was more of a hobby. I love connecting with people. I like talking to people. I'm very sociable. At least I like to think I am. And I love connecting people. I just get a real buzz out of it. Now, I was doing this for that amount of time, and then, funny enough, the guy that you saw yesterday speaking at Ming, John Howard, I'd met him. We were doing some business together about 3 years ago, and I said to him, John, I think I'm going to pack up. I've had enough. And he said, why? I said, because it's taking up sort of like 20, 30 hours a month of my time organizing it with the venues and to various things, and it's just taken, and I'm not getting anything for it. And he said, well, don't pack in because yours is one of the most valuable events out there because it's during the day. Yes, you're only getting like, by this time, we were getting sort of like 40 people in the room, 40, 45 people. This was like 3 years ago. And he said, don't pack it in. He said, if you want a bit of advice from me, keep it running, get yourself a co-host, preferably get a female because it works better. The male and the female together, it works really, really well. So I did, and I brought on my co-host Vicky Chittock, and Vicky's been with me now for 3 years. So we sat down together with one of my sponsors as well, Pinder, and we kind of like mapped out what we were going to do, and I pushed it really hard, and I have pushed it hard. I'm passionate about it. I'm as passionate about Ming as I am about most things. Even with what I do with my job with my homelessness as well, but I'm very passionate about connecting people and solving problems. I am a problem solver. So so I did, and then we from then on we've pushed on, and now, like you said, we're getting 100 people in the room in the day, which on a Monday morning is not a bad attempt, really. To be fair, doing
No,
really
that's
well.
brilliant. And how did you meet Vicky? Did Vicky attend your events? Because Vicky's quite a well-established property developer within her own right. How did you two partner up?
She used to come to me.
Right.
She used to come to me. Yeah, she did. I met a lot of people through me. All of my they all, what do they say, the five closest people to you, or whatever they say in all these training and mindset things and stuff like that. All my closest friends I've met at Ming, all of them. My business partner Jess, um, and Vicky, my co-host, person that I bought a block of flats off there, my investors, and everybody has come out of there. So it's I don't network that much myself, if I'm honest with you. I don't go out that much. I probably attend three or four a month. That's all. But those are normally the events like TDN, who you know really well, and there's one in Stafford as well with Sally and Rob. But I tend to go and try and support my local events as well because it's really important that we all work together and we're all rowing in the same direction. So so Vicky, yeah, she came to me.
Yeah, I've definitely been on the receiving end of that because not only have we sort of only launched our own event last year, which is a bit different because it's a one-off, like one-off a year that will come to a certain location. But the amount of support you gave me in trying to promote that and get people to attend that event, and then obviously when I first came to you. I'd probably launched UK Homes Network within about 4 weeks. I was still really, really fresh, really new. And you were like, well, why don't you come up and tell people about it? And I was like, what? You're like, yeah, come up and tell people
Yeah,
what it is that you're doing. And that's something that I've tried to hold those values that you've given me, that you've passed on, is to actually give people the platform and to share that because networking events, I know there are a lot of networking events, but there are certain ones that tend to work very cult-like and very within their own sort of business,
yeah,
and they don't work with the wider industry. Whereas I've noticed from day one, you're very collaborative and you want to welcome as many people as possible. But there's also a level of support that you give with your events that I don't think I certainly haven't seen this done at other events, which surprises me really is that you take the time to work with your attendees to show them what due diligence looks like every single event.
mm,
It's no secret that there are some bad actors within the industry, but you
yeah,
go through at least 5 or 6 points of how to spot why someone might not be coming to you with the best intentions. Was that
yeah.
was that as an experience of what you'd experienced through your property course, or is that just because you noticed that you are seeing this happen quite regularly around the industry, and that the reason that you set up Ming was to support property people like you, and you wanted to make sure that that was immediately obvious and no one else got stung?
I think it's more about me and my morals, my values. I didn't set Ming. I need to be clear. I didn't set Ming up to become a networking event. That was never. It was just an embryo, a bit of fun. That's how it started out. But and I've not been ripped off. But I've seen a lot of people that have been done by. Look, I kind of like put myself across as a bit of an anti-guru. I'm not. When I say that, I'm not. I'm not an anti-education. I need to be really clear about that. I'm not anti-education, but I am anti-run to the back of your room with your credit card because this one's going to end in a seven. And if you don't get there, then your life's going to be crap. I'm
Yeah.
not. So that's what I am. I'm not an anti-guru. Education's good. I've had education. I've had some good. I've had some bad. There's a lot of stuff out there. If I did it again, would I take the education? I don't know whether I would, if I'm honest with you. There's some fabulous people that I've got. Saj that's speaking at Ming in January. Fantastic educator. A really, really good reputation, very ethical, know him personally. Know him really. Adam Lawrence as well, who's speaking. Two really good people. John, again, ethical people, educators, all three of them. And people sometimes look at me and go, I didn't think you did that. I thought you were an anti-guru. I'm against people ripping people off. I only want the best for the people in the room. So going back to what you just asked me there, the 7 steps of due diligence that I do at Ming, it's just the simple things that we need to do. The check is gut instinct. That's the biggest one. Gut
Yeah.
feeling. Do you trust this person? Um, Company's house. It's very, very simple to go into company's house and do a quick check on somebody. There's ask people, ask people around and things like that. You'll soon find out. I have seen people get ripped off. I've seen people lose hundreds of thousands. I've seen people lose their homes. I've seen a couple of these, and I dare say you and other people have seen. I've heard a few people have lost their lives as well because of it, and that's just not right. It's not right at all. So I have created a safe space. Every single speaker that comes to my event has an interview like this. Every single one. You don't get anybody that comes into my room without being interviewed first. I need to look them in the eye and make sure that they're good, that they're a decent person. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, 100%. And I think more events should replicate what you do with those 7 steps. It definitely makes people feel good in the room, but also it makes them refocus in terms of the kind of conversations that they should be having with people.
You've worked hard for your money. You've worked hard for it. Protect it.
Yeah,
You need to
absolutely.
look after it.
So that sort of natural drive to help people and support people, d was it always a an aspiration when you got into property to support homeless families and the people that really needed the support? Or did that come later? Was there a point in your life where you decided that there needed to be a SureStay group?
It was, as I said, when my I had a breakdown in 2015 when I lost my business. It was I went to go and see a psychiatrist afterwards. Uh, what gets me going on this one? Um, I hit rock bottom really really bad. I hit rock bottom, and and I was told that it was reactive depression. I didn't know what reactive depression was, but it was because I'd got a company, my insulation company. I had 26 members of staff working for me, and then overnight it closed. Now that with me, I felt like I owed all these people. I know they were my employees; they worked for me. The more they worked, the more I earned, and so forth. You know how it goes. But when that was cut off, I kind of felt lost, completely. I lost my sense of worth. But I went to go and see a shrink, and they were just talking to me, or made me feel a little bit foolish, and said, not intentionally, but if you hear me out, it was because they said, well, let's ask you a few questions. Let's put you in a dark room. Picture yourself in this dark room. If have you got somewhere to live tonight? Have you got somewhere to sleep? Yeah, I have. You. Okay. Can you eat? Yeah. Got a family? I have. Do they love you? Yeah. Okay. And I come out of this thinking, and I think I had about 3 or 4 sessions thinking, I feel like a bit of a fraud because life isn't that bad. Moving forward from there, I'd actually had a separation because of the breakdown of my business as well, and I had a separation as well. So I went to go and live with my daughter in Codsall, near Wolverhampton, and with her husband. And I was there for probably 6 months. Yeah, I think I was there for about 6 months or so, something like that. Kind of like picking myself up off the floor, feeling sorry for myself. And my choice was, and I did this for the first few months, sit in the pub and drink myself into oblivion, which I did for the first few months, or try and do something decent. So I can't remember exactly how this came about. Oh, there was an event that was being held, funny enough, in a pub. It was being held in a pub in Wolverhampton. They were looking for volunteers for Wolverhampton Outreach. If anybody knows what Outreach is, it's an organisation of volunteers that go out and give provisions to people that are on the streets. So this was in Wolverhampton Town Centre. I became part of the Tuesday night outreach team. We'd give out hot drinks and food. I was there for 3 or 4 years, something like that. And me being me, started organising things, and I ended up going to do you remember the V Festival?
Yeah.
The V Festival, yeah. After the V Festival, I had a friend of mine who was a gardener who, funny enough, I met in Ming, and no, I didn't meet him in Ming. He came to Ming afterwards, and he was in the Red Cross, so he got me into the V Festival to go and collect all the tents and the sleeping bags and all that sort of stuff. So I organised all this and got my car with a trailer, and I used to go down and give all provisions out, and like sort of sleeping bags and tents and all that sort of stuff. So that's where it started, and then I put a post out on Facebook of me and the team on a Tuesday night on Halloween. This will probably be about 2017, I think, something like that. On Halloween, and we were all dressed up, and we were in the streets in Wolverhampton. We got all the face makeup on, and then a friend of mine saw it, who I used to play golf with, and he said, what's that all about?" So I told him, and so we had a chat, and he said, "Well, my brother's he does something for London with homelessness, and maybe you should connect." So we did, and then and that's where MRB property really started to stand on its own 2 feet. I bought some houses, as I just said to you, but that's where he really stood on its own 2 feet because he said to me, "We're looking for landlords that will accept a family on benefits. Um, we know it's difficult because benefits are lower than market rent, and if you can facilitate the move the families in, sort out the bedding and the washing machines and all the white goods and all that sort of stuff, then you'll get an incentive payment for it for doing that." Well, at the time, I wasn't really generating any income. I'd already got some capital, made me lazy because I'd already got some money in the bank, so I didn't feel like I needed to work. I'd bought some houses. I've got some rent coming in off those, but it wasn't nothing. It wasn't pulling up any trees. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that. And they kind of like it worked hand in hand. So I was doing my stuff with outreach on a Tuesday night, and then I found myself moving families in. I was meeting landlords because Ming had just started as well, and I was meeting landlords at Ming, and they were like open to the idea of letting me have their properties to move a family in. But moving the families in, I remember the first one that I ever moved in. It's just I don't know. I can still remember it to this day. That it moved me massively. When you've got this one was a mum and she got 4 children and she was in London and we moved her up here 120 miles up the road and they were just so grateful just to have a roof over their head. So that's where it started.
So how does it work, Mark? So in those days, were you were sourcing the property from the landlords that you were meeting at Ming, and then you were pairing them up with outreach, and then essentially giving these people homes?
It wasn't pairing with outreach is different. Outreach, I was a volunteer.
Right.
That was at Wolverhampton. I was walking the streets. That was a volunteer. But yeah, I was speaking to landlords, not just at Ming, but also I'd go searching on the likes of Gumtree and other. What was the other one called? I can't think. It was something. I can't think what it's called. There's another one as well. It's a famous American one that people use for that kind of stuff. And Craig's Place, I think that's what it's called, or something like that. So
Craigslist.
I'd go on those kind of places to have a look and see if I could find landlords that would accept families on low rent. And believe me, it's hard work trying to get a landlord to accept a rent that's like sort of like 25% below market value. Normally the property's retired. So so those are what I do. And yeah, I wouldn't say I hit the ground running. It was hard. It was
Mm.
tough. But I found that it resonated with me. I felt really good about myself, which 12, 18 months before I felt really bad about myself. Like I said, I'd been in a really low spot and I picked myself up. So yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah. And what kind of situations were these families in? Were they, could you give a bit more sort of background to kind of the sort of people that you were helping?
Well, and I still do now to this day, Chris, to be fair. I've been doing it now for 8 years, I think, 8.5 years, something like that. Some of the families they've been affected by the benefit cap in London. Let me be clear, the families all come from London. They come from West London. I've got a relationship with the guy that I just spoke to you about there, um, with West London Housing Alliance, and the families that are there. A lot of them at the beginning when I was moving them, they'd been hit by the benefit cap. So the cap was something like 25,000 a year or something like that, which sounds like a lot of money up here.
Yeah.
But down there, it's not because your rents up here were, I think at the time, were something like 400 or 500 quid, something like that for a 3 bedroom semi. Whereas down there, you were in the thousands straight away. And uh, yeah, it was just unaffordable. I've moved. Nowadays, I move a lot more families where they're fleeing sort of domestic violence and things. And we'll talk about it in a bit as well with SureStay Group. I move a lot of mother and babies with Jessica up into the Midlands, and those are families with no recourse for public funds.
So just to be totally clear, you moved them from West London or that area up to the West
Mm.
Midlands. So I imagine their cost of living, obviously with the homes being provided for them, but their cost of living must dramatically decrease because things are a lot cheaper up here than they are down there.
Yeah, the first thing I do, and this has always been exactly the same. I look for landlords that that work at LHA rate. So a two or a three or a four bedroom property, it's got to work at LHA rate. And the way that I look at this, I understand landlords want to try and get as much as squeeze as much out of the property as possible. I totally understand that. I think personally, and I'm also I do this in all my own properties. That if you've got a property on LHA rate, so it is a slightly lower level, um, the family can move in with no worries in the first place. So they're going to come in and they know that their rent is going to be covered at the start. I've got some success stories that I'll tell you about in a second as well. So they start on LHA rate. Now, the way I look at this and the way that I trying to explain this to a landlord as well, you may be taking a hit on your rent, but if you're taking a hit on your rent and you're going to get it, isn't that better than getting somebody in that's going to be paying you 150 or 200 pounds a month more, and you may not see it? I mean, we can get. I can talk forever about this. About people will say, "Oh, I want a reference check and guarantors and all sorts of things like that." Now, I don't offer those. I insure the rents instead. The rent is lower, granted, but if the rent starts at, we'll call it 700 quid. If the rent starts at £700 and they go off and they get themselves some employment and they start working and everything's hunky dory and they lose their job, they can only fall back to the level of what they did. So they're never going to be homeless. They've always got somewhere to live. And that's the whole point, is to give them some stability in their life.
Yeah, no, I guess if you know that sort of customer avatar of, if most landlords that I speak to are looking for young professionals, that people, young couples to move into their properties that are doing well in their jobs and they're doing well in their personal lives. But the likelihood of them having a 12-month to even 2-year period within that property and then looking to go on to the next phase of their life is quite a lot. Whereas if you're looking at the people that you're providing for, they're effectively looking for a forever home. They're looking for
Yeah.
somewhere that they can stay in for as long as possible because they've had
Yeah,
enough unsettlement in their life.
that's it. And I'm not saying to anybody at all, now, don't go and try and get the best rent that you can. I'm not saying that, because we've all got businesses to run. Um, but I happen to this is something that I'm passionate about. And if I've got and I do get, look, I'll be honest with you, Chris, some of the properties that I get aren't in the best condition.
Mm.
They're not. And they may need a bit of a tidy up and things. So I negotiate, I go back and I'll negotiate with the local authority, whichever local authority will, whichever one it is. I'll go back and I'll negotiate and I'll say, listen, we need a little bit more on the incentive payment. There's still an incentive payment there, but we need a little bit more. We might need to get another £500 or another £1,000, something like that, because I need to go in there and I've got to put in some window restrictors. I've got to make it compliant. I've got to. It needs a decoration, so it needs painting. We're not going to make it top end or anything like that. It's not going to be a service accommodation, but it's going to be a damn sight better than sleeping on the sofa. It's going to be a damn sight better than sleeping in an HMO. I've moved families, and how this is even legal, I've got absolutely no idea. I've moved mum and two kids out of one bedroom in an HMO in Brent. That's ridiculous. So when they come up here and they move into the properties that I provide, or Jess and I provide it in SureStay Group, I provide an MRB property on my own as well. Um, they're getting the space. They get in. I'm holding the hand whilst they move up here as well. I don't just move them in and say, "That's it, I'm done. That's my job finished." I set up WhatsApp groups between me, the landlord, and the tenant. We stay in touch, a bit to my detriment sometimes, because I really care about it. I'll have the message me at like 11 in the middle of the night and all the stuff. But that's just something that I suppose I've got to learn to try and disassociate myself a little bit with. Maybe have a cut off at 9 o'clock or something like that. But yeah, yeah, that's where
It's
it's.
it's no different to any other landlord. Every landlord you speak to have had a phone call at 2 in the morning to flip the
Yeah,
immersion on or to change a light bulb. It's just the path of
yeah,
the
yeah,
course. You mentioned incentive payment. Could you just clarify what you meant by that in terms of you said to increase the incentive payment if the property's not in great
yeah.
condition?
There's an agreement. There's an incentive, whichever local authority it may be, of a few £1,000s to move a family. Now, within that incentive payment, that can include I need to provide um, wardrobes and beds, linen, white goods, sofas, table and chairs, because they've always got a child with. My only work with social services, so they'll need a desk to work from for schoolwork and things. So yeah, that's when the incentive. But the incentive they'll have set figures. The local authority will have a set figure to work with. I don't make a great deal out of incentives, if I'm quite honest with you. But that's not why I do that. I make my money in other ways, like sort of like temporary accommodation and things. So, but yeah, the incentive payments, that's where it all started with MRB property.
Right. Okay. And
Let me tell you about a couple of success stories first, because I know that people, I'm not saying on this call, but I've had quite a lot of people that don't like what I do because rea stereotypical, isn't it? It's like, well, they should have a job. Why can't they go and earn? Why can't they pay for their own rent? Why can't they do this and things like that? You never know the circumstance. You don't know what's around the corner. I didn't know that I was going to have a breakdown after my business. You just don't know what's going to happen. So one of the first families that I moved into Horden Road in Wolverhampton, it was a couple actually, and I think they'd got three children. I moved them into Horden Road. Now this gentleman, he um, they'd been hit by the benefit cap down in London. Um, Talk you through the process first. What happens is you get the benefit cap there, so they can only get to a certain level. If and then the landlord puts his rent up. If the tenant can't afford to pay the rent, obviously give them a Section 21. Then they go into the local authority and they say, well, I'm now being evicted, which everyone knows how the process works. So that's how the family moves up then, because they've been issued a Section 21. So they have to find them somewhere to live. They'll try and find them somewhere local first, but if they can't find them somewhere local, then they'll look outside of London, which is where I come in. Now, I moved this family into Horden Road in Wolverhampton. The gentleman, he was a really, really nice guy. Robert, his name was, and he ended up setting up his own business within 3 months of being up here. And he went on, and he was flying within 12 months. He was earning a really good crust. I moved a family into a property in Foster Gardens in Birmingham, a young lady with her daughter. That's about 6 years ago. That must be now, because I know that, because I've turned that property's come back to me three times. The same property has come back to me three times. The landlord likes what I do. He likes the security that he's going to get paid every single month. He knows that his rent is low, but he's going to get it. The point of this one is that lady then met a gentleman and went off and got married. So we do have some really good stories as well. People sometimes just need a bit of um, I don't know, a bit of support. So I'd like to think that if I was in trouble, then somebody would support me like that.
yeah, I love that. And at what point did so that this is under MRB property? What what
Yeah.
what point did Jess turn up? And how did you get? Because I've met Jess a few times at Ming, and I sat down and had a really long conversation with her after this Ming. I normally am out the door by 2:30, but I think we were still sat there at 3:15. And she's an amazing woman doing amazing business that she's about to launch. And I always find her great at sort of public speaking when she talks about the SureStay Group at Ming.
Mm.
But where did you guys meet, and how did you decide to partner up?
Well, let me say that Jess is one of my favourite people in the world. She really is. She's going back to what you were saying there. Where did we meet? We actually met at the property education course. It wasn't Ming. We actually met at the property education course that I said that I was a little bit annoyed with myself because I'd spent nearly 20 grand on that course, and that's where we met. And we hit it off really well then. But then Jess went off and she I think she moved down to Southampton, then she moved to London, then she moved to Leamington. But we'd always stayed in touch via social media and said hello. And then she came back. I think she came back about 2.5 years ago, something like that, for a family matter. And then she started coming to Ming because she'd never been. So she decided to start coming to Ming, and we just got on really well and just carried on the same old conversation. It was just nice to see her. And then uh, I just bought some shops in Oswestry over in towards Wales. I bought some commercial shops, and and then Jess had phoned me up and she said, "Can you help me out with some numbers on a block of flats that I've been offered. And I said, yeah, okay. So we met over in Shrewsbury, which is where Jessica's from. And she said, can we meet up? So I said, yeah, okay, let's have a look. And so we did. And we started, and this was more that Jessica knows as much about property, if not more, than I do, to be honest. And she's a real fine tuner on the numbers. I think she just wanted a bit of support, if I'm quite honest with you. So we sat and we had a chat about it. And then she said, well, what do we think of, what do you think about what you do with homelessness and things? And to cut a very, very long story short, that's where SureStay Group was formed, because I could tell that I only want, I'd never even thought about having a JV partner. I was one of these ones, I'll do it all. I can do it on my own. I quite like to control my own environment, which seems a bit mad when I'm a network host. But so Jess and I said, like, okay, let's have a go, let's do this. But we're like yin and yang. Jess and I, we're very, very, very different. She's very organized. She has everything to the T. We've had some teething problems, believe me. She won't mind when she's recording unless she's already here. Um, we did have a couple of teething problems here and there because I appreciate I'm quite difficult to work with because I'm like Zebedee. I'm very bouncy, very excitable. I'm full of ideas, full of enthusiasm. And Jess had to pull me into line on a few occasions and say, "I'm not your PA, Mark. I'm not doing this one." So that's where we started together, and it's worked really well. And now we've got a really, really good relationship. You saw Jess yesterday,
Yeah.
and she comes up because she's one of my sponsors as well at MING. And I don't think she'll mind me saying, but you saw it. She broke down in tears when she was talking about SureStay Group and what we do. That's who I want to work with, somebody like that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have Jess on in the new year to share her side of the story as well. She can throw you under the bus with your
Yeah.
organisation, but I
I've
think
only said nice things, Jess, by the way. I've only said nice things.
everyone needs a Jess because David is my Jess. David is the one that makes sure because I am not organised at all. So yeah, he's the one that
She's much more than that, though, to be fair. She's much, much more than that. She is. I wouldn't have anybody else working with me, to be honest with you. She's so passionate about what we do together as a business. And she drives us, if I'm honest with you. I'm really passionate, but she's the proper driver behind SureStay Group.
great. And could you give a bit more insight into what SureStay Group do and how it works on the day to day with you and Jess?
Yeah, we um we formed in, I think it was about February last year, 2024. Um, we formed there, and we'd got this block of flats that we bought from somebody, funny enough, at Ming, of all places, and we'd got this agreement in place to go and buy it. Now, she won't mind me saying this as well. When we worked our numbers out, we thought we got it right. But they were very, very tight. Our figures were really tight on what we do because MRB property, I only do ASTs. I get incentive payments. I only do ASTs. SureStay Group was going to be exactly the same. That's what it was designed to do. We were going to rehouse families into permanent accommodation, but we very quickly learned. See, you don't know everything in property or in business. And as we started refurbing this, we're like, wow, this is costing us a bit. This is I'd never developed, and I still haven't. Jessie's our developer. That's what I mean. She's not just the one that organises me. She's also the one that did the building, and she did all the refurb, the whole lot. It weren't me. Um, but we very quickly realised that we had to pivot halfway through the refurb of this property. And my relationship that I have, like I said, I'm a relationship builder. And my relationship that I have with the gentleman that I talked about earlier from West London and Housing Alliance in London, he said, "Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do with this. We will use this for, we'll call it temporary accommodation because and no recourse for public funds is for families that aren't quite in the system for one reason or another. So we use it for temporary accommodation. Now, temporary accommodation, the rates are higher than what they are for LHA rates. So we'll get paid a nightly rate for that. Um, so that supported us, to be honest with you, with how we started out in the first place. And that's what we continued to do. We've bought our block of flats. We're three quarters full in there. We've got every single family in there. It's a mum and baby. We've created a community. It's great to see some of the mums that, bear in mind, they've never met each other. They don't know they know each other from Adam. They're worried when they turn up because they've moved 120, 130 miles up the road, and they can be from England, they can be from Ghana, they can be from Nigeria, they can be from wherever it's going to be. So it's a worry. So I settle them in. That's my job, is to settle them in, because I've been doing it for quite a long time, and I enjoy it. Um, and I just try to get the families to be as comfortable as possible very, very early. So that's what SureStay Group does. And it's also I've inadvertently created my own pipeline to MRB property, because my families, or our families, can only stay in our block of flats for until they get their recourse for public funds. That's when they get that, they then have to move out and they have to find alternative accommodation, which is where I come in. Because then I'll go and find a landlord who will accept a family on universal credit. I'll move the family out of the block of flats and into permanent accommodation. So we like to think between the two of us that we're moving the family in, we're giving them some stability in the first place, and then we're giving them a permanent home afterwards.
Yeah, so it's not even, you're not just using it as a business opportunity. You've set up businesses around the full life cycle of what they'll go through legislatively,
Yeah.
in terms of the recourse of funds, and then and then actually finding them the permanent accommodation. Mark, before I go to my last question, guys, if you've got any questions that you want to put to Mark, please do use the chat in the bottom of the screen. Drop a little message in there and we'll read your question out. And if there's anything you'd like to know more from Mark, then please do put your questions in there. We'd love to hear from you. So, yeah, in terms of, you said to me before this call, you said that you would love to get our audience involved in what you're doing, and you're on the lookout for more and more properties. And could you share a little bit with how people can get involved, Mark?
Yeah, I can. There are three ways that you can help, myself and also Jessica as well. Simply with, as far as a landlord is concerned, um, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to get the market rent. If you're a landlord that is interested in supporting a family on universal credit, um, yes, okay, the rent's not going to be the best in the world, but you're going to be supporting a family to settle into an area. I fully insure the rent as well. So what we ask for at the moment is an assured short hold tenancy, but I think it's going to be an assured tenancy come April of next year. But we fully insure the rents as well, against anything. So if for whatever reason the tenant, I also arrange direct payment as well between DWP and the landlord. If for whatever reason the tenant decides that they want the payment and then it's made to the landlord, that first of all would give me a red flag, which is why I have a WhatsApp group. But it's never happened yet, but it would. But I insure the rent for that reason as well, just in case. It also insures against any kind of evictions as well. So, um, so yes, the rent's not the best in the world, but it's a fully insured rent and against evictions as well. So I'm looking for any landlords that have got any one, two, or three bedroom properties anywhere within the Midlands. Even outside the Midlands, we'll go there as well, providing it's the right property and if they will accept LHA rates. So from the Midlands or probably further south is best. With SureStay Group, we are on the lookout for another block or something that will convert into flats. So that can be something that is already a C3 use, or something an office block or something like that that can be converted. We love lease options. We're looking at a couple at the moment. Something where we can delay the payments a little bit until we've filled the block up. So that would work really well for us. And the third thing as well, we look for social impact investors. We've found a lot of people enjoy what we do. Um, it isn't just about how much people get returns. Have I harped on about this too much, have I, about how much money you can't earn? Because I don't
No,
mean to.
no, I look,
Yeah.
it gives the real side to it. And I think you're underplaying how much sort of satisfaction you get out of doing this in terms of there is an element that you will earn money from this, but I
Well,
think people actually will get way more job satisfaction out of this, and that will be the thing that people hold on to.
our investors so far have been accepting 8 and 9% there or thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know that you can go out there and get 12 and 15%. But the way I look at it, we always offer first charge on the building. And the way I look at it is, if somebody was offering me 8 or 9%, and I'm going to get my money back, then fine. I'm happy with that because it's more important to get your money back than invest in a higher return. I'm not breaking any rules, am I, by saying percentages? I'm not sure whether I am or not. I don't
No,
think so.
I don't think you are. I mean, it's okay to talk about the average. You're
Yeah,
not selling it. In terms of the average for a buy to let, I mean, you're looking at 6, 7%, aren't you?
yeah,
In terms of return. So I guess when you're
yeah,
talking averages, then you're absolutely
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, so but mine's more. We do look for social impact investors. We look at any level as well. We've had investment from the 30,000, and we've gone much. We've gone into like 500,000 kind of thing. So yeah, we're looking for social impact investors as well. Anyone that's got even single properties, we'll look at single properties as well. So yeah, just be realistic with me.
Right. Well, Mark, I'm going to have to dive into the questions because we're getting them come thick and fast, and I want to get round to as many questions as possible. But while I've got you here with the audience, I would like to hold you to get you back in the new year because commercial property is one of your other big passions, and I know you've done some exciting projects recently, so we'd love to get you back for that in the new year if you'll come back.
I will do that. Yeah.
Great. Well, Simon was first out the traps, and he's based in the Peak District. Beautiful place in a town called Buxton. How would you go about doing something in my area for short stay homeless for families out of the area, and where to start to contact?
It's all about demand. And there is a lot of homelessness down in London. I would just encourage you to get LinkedIn's the best place to find it, to be honest with you. Go onto LinkedIn, search for the local authorities in London, and have a look for housing options is your best place to start. Housing officers, housing options, anything like that. Go and search on LinkedIn. Look, there's 32 London boroughs. I didn't realize there was that many, but there's 32 London boroughs. They've all got housing needs. There's a lot more demand for ASTs, I'll be quite honest with you, than there is for temporary accommodation, a lot more, because they want to move families into permanent accommodation. But that's your first port of call. Buxton, yeah, I think they go there as well. As long as there's access within, I think access has got to be within 90 minutes of London, I think. It doesn't have to be, but I think that's the preferred. It needs to be within 90 minutes.
Yeah. And if you want to get in front of those people, I know that it's quite pricey, but if you are prepared to go to UK Reef, all 32 boroughs have one stand under a United London stand at UK Reef, and you can actually go there and meet the housing officers there. So it might give you an in to actually have a face-to-face conversation with them and work out the demand. So that might be an option. Um, Saffron, Jez, I've got your questions here. We'll come to you in just a second. I'm going to come to Lily's and Per's question first. So, Per and Lily here. I believe Per and Mark was at the same group at the Property Entrepreneur Blueprint this year. So, would love to catch up with you as we live in Sweden and do not have the luxury to attend the daytime events easily, but would love to come one day. Do you mean only LHA rate and not LHA plus 10 or 20%? What are the
Right.
things that,
So,
yeah, okay. And what are the things that one would need to be aware of? I know mortgage wise probably would not like this strategy, so needs smaller group of lenders. But then what about other issues like damages, etc., and inability to evict if they are not able to find replacement accommodation, so the lenders see you cannot take back the properties easily.
well, the lender's just a lender. I think providing the lender will accept universal credit, because that's all we're bringing in. It's just a family that's unemployed or they're on universal credit. So providing the lender's happy with that, and I don't know many lenders that aren't happy with that. As long as the numbers stack, they'll be happy with it. Whether you would buy for that strategy, I don't know. I think this is probably more targeted towards existing buildings, if I'm honest with you. So I don't think any lenders would really turn down if the numbers worked, if the numbers stacked. And I know they're tight on LHA, but I think you'll be okay. With regards to evictions as well, finding replacement accommodation, well, that's down to the family, that is, because if they it would come, look, I insure against the rent in a way against evictions, and they would be evicted. The family would be evicted, but then we're getting into technicalities here. They would then become intentionally homeless. So if the family didn't pay their rents and they got evicted from their property and they've got a child, they would become intentionally homeless, and the social workers would be involved and take the child off them because I only work with families.
Right.
So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake here for them to make a good go of this and make a success of it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. And
Great.
believe me, I mean, look, I've been met with resistance quite a lot. When families come from London, I don't want to go and live in Newcastle. Nothing against Newcastle. I think, are you from there? Are you from that direction? I'm sure you're from
Yeah.
that direction, aren't you? Yeah.
No,
No,
no.
no, you're from around here. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I don't want to go and live up north or anything like that. It's a big wrench when you're moving from London to Birmingham, and me moving out of my home comfort and things like that is a big wrench. So it's a big deal. So that's why I try and settle them in as best I can.
Great. Well, Philomena's put, I've got property in Northants, Midlands, recently purchased and about to refurb. Happy to have a conversation. So I'll pass you on Philomena's details after this one. Right, let's get
Yeah,
on to
fabulous. Thank you,
Saffron.
Philomena.
Let's get on to Saffron and Jez's question because I know they've been waiting a while. Um, Hello, how does it work with deposits, managing the property, etc.? Does it differ from private rentals? Thank you, Saffron.
No, it doesn't. It's PRS. The hard and fast answer is there is no deposit. However, as I mentioned earlier about the incentive payments, this is for MRB property, so these are permanent accommodation I'm talking about now. This is not temporary accommodation. If there's an incentive payment that comes in, and and I've done this on a number of occasions, to be quite honest with you. I've rehoused 72 families so far, and I've probably done this on at least 20 of the properties. If the landlord has to take a bit of a haircut on their rent, say from £700 a month down to 650 at LHA, so they're losing 50 quid a month, we'll use that as a yardstick. And we're always looking at a 2 year AST. If they're losing 50 quid a month, do your maths, Chris? 50 times 12 times 24, so that's 1,200 quid. So I would go back to the local authority and say, listen, this landlord's come down from 800 quid. We can only get 650 at LHA. However, I've got them in here at 700 quid. So they've took a haircut of £50 a month. We need to build that up. Can we give them 1,200 quid? And they will do. Half the time, the local authority will find that money because we've got a landlord on board that's happy to work with us to move the family in. So the answer is no, it's not a deposit, but yes, I can certainly help with some kind of if you want to call it an incentive or a cash injection or whatever you want to call it, just to try and make the numbers work for them. I appreciate the landlord needs to hit a number as well. So I did one of those this week, actually, funny enough. Last
Great
week.
stuff. And Jez has asked, this is a really good question. What makes a property suitable other than being a one, two, three bed?
What makes it suitable? It just needs to be a home. Um, we sometimes we make the properties work because LHA doesn't work on bedrooms; it works on occupants. As in, that's not just LHA; it's just in general. So I have rehomed a mum and baby into a one bed with a large lounge because the baby, providing they're under 10 years old and moving out of area as well, is a big deal. And mums want to be close to their children anyway. So if I've got one, I'm just doing one at the moment. The guy that I just told you about there with the cash incentive, we've got one there. That's a one bedroom property, but it's got a large lounge as well. The one thing I haven't said, they must all have their own kitchen and their own bathroom. They must have that. We don't have anything where it's the kitchen is in the lounge. We don't have any studios like that at all. They have to be separate. We have to make sure they're completely compliant as well. So we have to do fire checks to make sure that they've got all the usual means of escape and window restrictors and all that. So the properties have got to be safe, smoke alarm, CO2. So answering the question, we can make a one bed work at two bed rate and a two bed work at three bed rate, depending on. I don't want people to get too excited about that because it all depends on the makeup of the family. So it's talk to me is probably the best answer to that.
Brilliant. Um, Guys, before we wrap up, just to let you know, we've got another webinar coming next Tuesday where we're going to have the guys from Roma Finance on to talk about what's happening in 2026 property wise. And we're already booking in some amazing guests for the webinars next year. So if you want to keep up to date with them in UK Homes Network, just go to the events tab. And I'm seeing quite a few messages come in direct from Mark in the chat that only me and Mark can see. So I will pass those over to Mark. But if you want to drop him a direct message, he's just at Mark. I don't know how he managed to swangle that one. He's just at Mark in UK Homes Network. So
Right.
you might as well just call yourself Mark Official in the in our.
Shall I put my email address in there, my phone number or not in the chat?
Yeah, you
Shall
can
I make
do.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you want to follow up, we're posting UK Homes Network after Mark, so people can reach out to you directly. Then that would be
I'll do
great.
that.
But yeah, thank you so much today, Mark. I really, really appreciate it. This has been an aspiration of mine to get you on onto this webinar for quite a while, and I'm so glad that we've managed to. I've learned some stuff about you that I didn't know, and I feel like I know you because I sit in front of you every month and watch you present. But yeah, there's a real human story there, and I think it's touched quite a few people, and I'm seeing that from the reaction that we've got in the chat. If you've got any more questions for Mark, please do reach out to him. It would be lovely to give him the full UK Homes Network experience with the amount of messages that you guys will send Mark after this. But yeah, have a lovely Christmas, and I really appreciate it. Mark, if anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you? Where can they find Ming? Where's the best way to keep in contact with you?
Mark Burrows on you'll find me on LinkedIn and also on Facebook as well. I'm quite easy. I don't do hashtags or anything like that. I've got no idea how you do that sort of stuff, but you'll find me. Or mark at mingnetwork.co.uk is my email address if you want to come to the events. So but yeah, look for the Midlands Investor Networking Group in LinkedIn. That's the best place to find us.
Great stuff. And yeah, all the next year's events will be going up in the events tab of UK Homes Network. The next one is on Jan the 12th. I will be there. But if you
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait,
up there. Look, can you see it? You can
there
see
you
it
go,
there. Scan a
scan your
card.
tickets. And if you can't wait that long, where are you on Saturday? Get rid of the kids. Come down Barbara's Beer Hall.
Bring them with you. Bring them with you.
Yeah. And we're going to have a proper party. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
If I don't see you guys before, have a lovely Christmas and have a happy new year. And we'll see you in the new year. Thanks,
Yeah, Merry
guys.
Christmas, everyone.
Take care. Bye bye.